We now turn to the apology related to childhood abuse, hunger strikers and statements from the Taoiseach and Taoiseach. And before I call on the Taoiseach, I want to welcome to the distinguished visitors gallery today Mary Dunlevy Greene, Mary Donovan, Maurice O'Connell and Miriam O'Connell, all of whom are survivors of institutional abuse. I also want to welcome their friends, family and supporters who, alongside Patricia Carey, the government-appointed Special Advocate for Survivors, have joined us in the public gallery. You're all very welcome. Now call on the Taoiseach.
Thank you, Alaskion Corlin. And I too want to start today by welcoming to Dáil Éireann a group of survivors from industrial and reformatory schools who have met with me and with the then Minister for Education, Helen McEntee, to discuss their concerns and to share their individual stories and experiences. And they are, as you have said, Mary Donovan, Mary Dunlevy Greene, Miriam Moriarty Owens and Maurice Patton O'Connell. I pay tribute to you and I thank you for your advocacy. In May 1999, on the basis of a memo which I brought to Cabinet, the then government agreed to enact a series of steps to give victims of childhood abuse an opportunity to be heard. On behalf of the State and of all citizens of the State, the then government made a sincere apology to the victims of childhood abuse, and on behalf of the State and of all the citizens of the State, that government articulated its wish to make a sincere and long overdue apology to the victims of childhood abuse for our collective failure to intervene, to detect their pain and to come to their rescue. I reiterate that apology today. It was acknowledged then that the process of opening up and acknowledging failures to protect the rights of children would be complex, would take new directions, and demanded a commitment to responding comprehensively. As a country and as a government, we recognise that too many of our children were denied the love, care and security that should have been theirs. Abuse ruined their childhoods and was and remains an ever-present part of their adult lives, reminding them of a time when they were without support or protection. We recognised the gravity of this wrong and undertook to do all we could to overcome the lasting effects of their ordeals. The first major step in a process of seeking full transparency and perspective involved the establishment of the Commission of Investigation into Child Abuse, better known as the Ryan Commission. The final report was published in May 2009. It detailed disturbing and significant levels of historic abuse of children who were placed by the Irish State in residential institutions, particularly industrial schools and reformatories run by religious orders. Ongoing reforms of our childcare laws are essential, and the Childcare Act of 1991 represented a fundamental change of approach to child protection in its comprehensiveness and scope. It prioritised child protection and modernised state services to protect vulnerable children. Irish child protection was significantly transformed and moved to a more proactive state-managed system focused on the rights and safety of the child. And that Act remains the fundamental framework for protecting children. And since then, and in response to the Ryan report and other reports, we have advanced further changes. We now have a comprehensive approach to deal with the traumatic impact of previous abuse, to protect children and to strengthen structures and accountability for child protection in this country. Following the creation of the new Department of Children and Youth Affairs in 2011, the Child and Family Agency, now known as TUSLA, was established in January of 2014. The 31st Amendment of the Constitution Act 2012 was signed into law on the 28th of April 2015. It mandated the courts to consider the best interests of the child as paramount in proceedings regarding custody, guardianship and care. The Children First Act came into effect in 2015. It too broke new ground in vigilance against child abuse and neglect, with mandatory reporting by key professionals and improved child safeguarding arrangements. In 2017, the Children First National Guidance for the Protection and Welfare of Children was published. Addressing the effects of past abuse has also been a central part of the State's response to historical abuse in residential institutions, with important measures put in place, including the establishment and funding of the HSE's National Counselling Service, providing counselling and support to adults who experience childhood abuse. Over €1 billion in redress payments has been paid by the State to individual survivors of abuse in industrial schools, reformatories and related institutions through the Residential Institutions Redress Scheme and the Education Finance Board. And as part of the State's response, contributions were sought from the relevant congregations. And through Cara Nua, this fund provided €98 million in funding supports to approximately 6,000 survivors. We are now moving to a new phase of supports, which I will expand upon later in this statement. But first I want to say that I fully recognise that for those who suffered institutional abuse, the traumatic impact has been enduring. The deep personal toll that it has taken on the lives of survivors was brought home to me again in my recent engagements with the group who are here today. I was moved to hear each of your personal stories, and I am deeply sorry for the harm that you suffered as a consequence of the abuse that you experienced in state institutions. When we met, you made me aware of the abuse also suffered by many of you who were boarded out, but by you in particular, but many others who were boarded out from industrial and reformatory schools. The issue of how you and other children were treated when boarded out was examined in the Rhine report and is further detailed in Chapter 11 of the report of the Commission of Investigation into Mother and Baby Homes. Testimony detailed elsewhere in that report conveyed the harrowing experiences of many of those who were boarded out and a palpable sense of abandonment they felt. In January 2021, on behalf of the Government, the State and its citizens, I apologise for the profound generational wrong visited upon Irish mothers and their children who ended up in a mother and baby or county home institution. I also acknowledged then that many children who were subsequently boarded out experienced heartbreaking exploitation, neglect and abuse within the families and communities in which they were placed. As I said at that time, and wish to reiterate today, regardless of the pathway from which individuals were boarded out, this was unforgivable. Government recognised that there were many situations where children in boarded out arrangements were wrongly and harshly treated. They were not raised as part of a family or given the opportunities they should have been in relation to their care and education. We know that some were physically, emotionally and sexually abused. I am very sorry for what was done to you. I apologise on behalf of the State for the abuse and neglect that you suffered. What happened to you was wrong, shocking and should never have happened. The Government recognises the suffering and damage that this abuse has caused, and we will continue to support you as much as possible. As part of that support, and to continue to support people who have experienced abuse while boarded out, the Government established a boarded out practical support service for adults. It is a free and confidential service offering a wide range of practical supports to survivors. Provided by Barnardo's and funded by the State, it delivers practical and therapeutic supports to adults who were boarded out as children in Ireland. Support is also available through the Special Advocate for Survivors, who amplifies the voice of survivors, including those who were boarded out as children. The Advisory Council currently being established by the Special Advocate has a number of pillars to reflect the diverse experiences of survivors. One of these pillars is dedicated to and comprises those who were boarded out. Access to records is also a very important issue for many of those who were boarded out and have questions about their origins and early life experiences. The 2022 Birth, Information and Tracing Act provides a clear legal basis for access to birth and early life information and records. And this allows those who were adopted, boarded out, the subject of an illegal birth registration, or resident in a mother and baby or county home institution as a child, to seek information on their own situation. Finally, the National Centre for Research and Remembrance will stand as a national site of conscience to honour equally all those who were resident in institutions and all those who have lived experience of Ireland's historical adoption and voted out systems. Survivors will continue to be at the heart of decisions in relation to the development of the National Centre. In 2023, Government approved a new phase of ongoing supports to survivors of abuse in industrial schools, reformatories and related institutions in areas including health, advocacy and education. This included an enhanced package of health services and supports for those who wish to engage in education and training, and access to advocacy supports through a new independent advocacy service. Work is well underway on putting these services and supports in place. I appreciate that there were concerns amongst certain survivors about the adequacy of these new supports, and this has been the subject of the recent campaign by the group present here today. And following the conclusion of a mediation process to address the concerns raised, Government has agreed to provide further improvements to these services. And these include strengthened access to health services for survivors of industrial and reformatory schools through appointment of dedicated health liaison officers and better access to counselling and physiotherapy services. Work is already underway to put these services in place. Government has also agreed to provide additional funding for education grants under the Supports for Survivors of Residential Institutional Abuse Act 2025. I recognise that there have been calls for a contributory state pension for this group of survivors. I discussed this with survivors and we recognise the complexity of the issue. We agreed to explore ways to address this issue that would be more flexible and easier to access. On foot of this, Government has approved the expansion of the Education Support Payment Scheme under the Act to include provision of support for informal learning, self-development and well-being activities. And these payments will be easy to access and will be introduced as soon as possible. We have also progressed measures to ensure that survivors are prioritised for social housing needs and to ensure that community welfare services give them specific consideration and recognition for funeral costs and provide accordingly. The potential for local memorialisation proposals is also being explored. All of these measures are part of the agreement that I and Minister McEntee and the Government arrived at with the group that's here today by letter and mediation. And I hope that these additional measures will help the ongoing process of healing for these survivors of institutional abuse. Another matter which I wish to address relates to criminal records. Today I wish to categorically confirm for the record that the State did not and does not regard individuals by virtue of their detention in any industrial school as having committed a criminal offence, and that no criminal record is recorded against them. With regard to children who were detained in industrial schools and who were subsequently transferred to a reformatory school solely by virtue of their detention in the industrial school, they are likewise not considered to have had any criminal record. No person, and in particular no agency of the State, should in any way regard these individuals as having committed a criminal offence or having a criminal record. A formal statement to this effect will also be issued today by the Minister for Justice, Home Affairs and Migration. And certificates confirming this for individual survivors will be provided on a case-by-case basis following receipts of records, including posthumously. The process for this will be put in place by the Minister for Justice, Home Affairs and Migration as soon as possible. Survivors have felt stigmatised, and you made this very clear to me in our meetings. You have felt stigmatised throughout your lives, and we must be clear and categoric in removing any taint of stigmatisation from public discourse and the public record. I want to once again thank the survivors for being here today. Your commitment and your resilience and the struggle and the challenges that presented for you personally, as you again articulated to me today, is testament to your tireless commitment to shining a light into the dark corners of both our past and present. I want to unequivocally apologise to you and reiterate on behalf of the Government, the State and all citizens of the State the profound sorrow for the terrible pain and abuse suffered by you. What you endured on a daily basis as innocent children was harrowing, heartbreaking and wrong. Thank you, Ceann Comhairle.
Thank you, Taoiseach. An Tánaiste.
Ceann Comhairle, I join the Taoiseach in thanking the group of survivors from industrial and reformatory schools for their presence in the Dáil today, and indeed for their campaign to highlight the ongoing legacy of trauma bestowed by this country's shameful history of cruelty towards children. Today we welcome Mary, Miriam and Maurice. I know you met with the Taoiseach and Minister McEntee last year, and I know you told your own personal stories, which is a harrowing thing to do in and of itself. But in doing so, you have brought about a renewed focus on the terrible experience of all survivors and a further acknowledgement by the state of the dreadful harm that was done to children. The state has often compounded the wrongs of the past by failing to admit them quickly enough and failing to comprehensively acknowledge our part in them. I can think of too many examples where this has been the case, and I hope today might serve another purpose in helping us to learn from that for once and for all. Today I am glad that we are recognising the hurt and the pain of those abused in childhood in state institutions. Every time the silence that once surrounded your suffering is broken is a moment of light shining in the darkness. We have heard, as we should, in this House on many occasions, of the systematically cold and harsh treatment of children and the endemic culture of abuse which went unchecked in our state for far too long. It is right that we should hear these harsh truths in this House, and it's right that we should apologise for them. In truth, we can never apologise enough for what has happened. In May 1999, the government apologised to the victims of childhood abuse and recognised the acute pain and abuse that children suffered when they should have been cared for and protected by the state. Instead of love and care and protection, they were gravely, gravely wronged. In that apology, it was rightly accepted that abuse ruined their childhood and remained an ever-present part of their adult lives. Although unable to escape the enduring and deep hurt that they carried with them down the years, survivors have demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to sharing their stories, their terrifying living nightmares, so that the state would act. As with the survivors here today, each one of you has their own unique experience of suffering. But I know that through your efforts, you're seeking to improve things for all survivors of institutional abuse. I am sincerely and profoundly sorry for the pain and suffering you were subjected to in and by the state. Today we're building on the state apology of 1999 and all that has followed. Although not yet a member of this House, I remember the Ryan report some 10 years later and the appalling litany of abuse described therein. It is impossible to read the records of abuse reported by witnesses to that inquiry without feeling sick to the pit of your stomach. Not too long after I was first elected, I remember being present in this very chamber after the publication of the Cloyne report, which, though a separate commission process to the Commission to inquire into child abuse, again exposed the disgusting downplaying of the rape and torture of children and a dangerous disregard for child protection practices. I recall being present in this chamber in 2013 for the then Taoiseach's apology to the Magdalene women, as we visited again the cold and pitiless Ireland that was systematically punitive to girls and women. And of course, I remember being present in 2021 when the Taoiseach apologised to those who spent time in mother and baby homes in this country. So many occasions when we have had to once again unleash the national trauma of our past and expose again the wounds which never healed for children afflicted by a culture where indifference enabled violence, neglect and abuse. The dark past of this country is an abyss of misery for the children so victimised. It is right, as I have said, that this House listens and apologises, and more importantly, it is essential that we act. It is true to say extensive work has been undertaken to reform our child welfare laws and ensure that our structures and accountability for child protection are robust and effective. The country held a referendum. People voted to enshrine the best interests of children in our constitution and in our law. Mandatory reporting was introduced. But we must also remind ourselves that when it comes to caring for and protecting for children, we must always be vigilant. We must always seek to improve services and safeguards. Child welfare concerns can never be seen as just a thing of the past. They must be an ever-present priority if we are to be true to the reforms we've made. In addition to the experience of those who were abused in institutions, the Taoiseach also spoke about those who experienced abuse while boarded out. The 2021 State Apology rightly recognised the many situations where children who were boarded out were treated shamefully. Far from being placed into the bosom of a family, Children were neglected and abused and exploited for labour. Today, we clearly and unequivocally, on behalf of the state, apologise to all those who suffered abuse in those circumstances. Today, we confirm on the record of the House that the state did not and does not regard individuals as having committed a criminal offence, and that no criminal record is recorded against them by virtue of their detention in any industrialist school. I appreciate that with the Supports for Survivors of Residential Institutional Abuse Act 2025, we've entered into a new phase of ongoing supports for survivors of abuse, and today we seek to build on those concerns and those supports as the Taoiseach has outlined, and I welcome that. We hope that the actions we've taken to date and those that we now take make some contribution to the healing process for survivors. I hope today's apology can go some way towards that, and that the support of the state can start to make up in some small way for the neglect of the state when you were at your most helpless and most vulnerable. I want to conclude by restating again our deep sorrow for the grievous wrong that was done to you as children. We can never forget that the suffering deliberately imposed on the most blameless innocents is a stain on our nation. We can never stop trying to understand how, as a state and as a society, our most basic instinct to protect our children was warped into an appalling acceptance of abuse and abandonment. I think of a line from the poetry collection The Poison Glen by Anne-Marie Nicquirin, a collection informed by conversations with survivors of Irish institutions, in her poem Creed. The child, my sister, my brother, who was conceived out of darkness in a moment of light and placed in the care of stone. We unequivocally apologise on behalf of the government, the state and all the citizens of this state for all that you have endured.